board. Today is January 30th, 2024. We're doing the review session, and this is our agenda. But we can talk about anything you guys want related to accounting, so let me know. I'm just going to give you a minute to put things into the chat. And I am going to monitor the chat. I see nothing. Anything you guys want to talk about? What are your strengths? What areas do you need help on? So, how did you guys feel about Monopoly? I've just finished grading those and they look pretty good for most of you. So did Monopoly help with the journal entries? Did Monopoly help with the how to do a journal entry, how to do T accounts? So go ahead.
I thought it was pretty helpful, and I guess more engaging than just doing it in like the homework problems that are laid out straightforward. But those like multi-step problems always make me nervous that I'm gonna make one small mistake at the start and then get everything messed up.
Don't worry about that for the exam. I won't have a full thing like Monopoly on the exam. They're
Okay.
smaller questions for that very reason. In fact, even the CPA exam takes that into account, and they'll adjust your
Okay,
answer and
cool.
give you credit if you used a bad answer correctly in a future problem. Anyway,
Okay, that makes me
uh,
feel better.
as far as I'm concerned, if you got it right, you just had bad data. You knew how to do that piece of the problem.
Okay,
All right.
that's how I thought of it when I was
So
grading
yeah,
it, but
yeah. All right. So happy to go over any hard parts of the homework or of the practice exam, but you all should have the solution now. Just got out of that great alumni panel. We had about 80 students there, so that was really fun. And we had another 22 online, so that was cool. And hopefully we'll post that video in the next week or so. All right, so how do you guys feel about the exam? What are your questions? Usually students have a lot of questions about format or whatever. So, and I've already answered one with respect to not really big dependent problems. So
on the essay questions, is the answers on the answer key pretty standard in terms of length?
I do want to go, yeah, I do want to go over that part of it, just so you have that. So let's put that on here. So, but I'm not looking for a big essay. Like this isn't like a big writing project where you're doing a page of comments. It's just a quick trend analysis essay.
Okay.
All right. Austin, Diana, Amanda, Ashley, do you guys have other questions that you want answered or things you want to go over? Could we also go over the last page on the practice exam? I'm just writing these down. Can you guys see my Word document? Yes or no?
Yep, I can see
Okay.
it.
Okay, great, thanks. Is it going to be pretty similar to the practice exam? It will be. Oh, sorry, they got somebody at the door. Hang on. Come on in, Elijah. I mean, in the waiting room. All right. So question is, will the exam look like the practice exam? It'll look similar. What I like to tell students is if you study the practice exam, and that's all you study, you'll probably do okay on the exam for like 75% of the exam, which is good. There may be questions that were on your homework that are not on the practice exam, or there may be questions that are on the PowerPoint that were not on the practice exam. So anything that's on PowerPoint or homework could be on the exam. Not the exact question, but a similar question. Okay. All right. And welcome, Elijah. All right. I'm just asking everybody if they have particular questions on the practice exam or anything else. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna put my face in this video. Hopefully you'll see my face. I see Cameron's, but hopefully you'll see my face. So on the exam, the other big announcement I need to do today, and it's on your calendar. Let me just switch to Canvas calendar, and we will do here. Can you guys see the calendar?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay. So we're here in January, but the last week of the calendar shows up on the February. So I'm just going to switch to February. So we're here on the 30th. So I just want to kind of go over some of the details on the calendar. And if you have any questions or confusion, let me know. All right. I don't know if you can see me now, but hopefully you can. I just moved the camera. Sort of. All right. So tonight you have the account ID quiz, and I want to go over that with you guys. Has anybody done it yet? Put it in the chat. Ashley, yes. Austin, yes. Great. Okay. And then tonight is your deadline for your homework, your practice homework. All right. So the practice homework is not optional. It is required. It's very similar to the homework. It gives you another chance to practice the homework. And what I like about the practice homework is if you just can't get it done, it's worth about 0.3 points. So you can make that up easily with extra credit if you have to miss one, but it just gives you more practice. And then quiz for chapter 3 is also due tonight. Okay. And then come to campus tomorrow, 2:30, C208. So we'll go over that as well. So the account ID quiz, I just want to open it up here. Hopefully it'll let me do that. Sometimes it doesn't. I'm going to try and do student view, and let's see if it'll let me take the quiz. Yeah, okay. Now, I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's a list. So you have about 5 minutes for the quiz, okay? So it's designed to be like flashcards for you. So it'll give you an account, and we should know about 25 accounts at this point, 25 accounts. You should know if it's an asset account, a liability, or a stockholder's equity account, because all of those go on the balance sheet. And whether it's a revenue account or an expense account, all of those go on the income statement, okay? So insurance expense would be an expense account. It goes on the income statement. And then you have to say, is it a normal debit balance or a normal credit balance? So I'm going to put debit balance. And the next question is notes payable. Notes payable is a liability. Liabilities are on the balance sheet. And liabilities normally have a credit balance. Okay. So there'll be about 20 questions and you have 5 minutes to do it. All right. So I'm just going to submit this quiz. It's going to give me a warning that I've left them all unanswered. Now, I have set this quiz up that you can take it 10 times. If you want more, email me and I'll set it to 15. It's just designed as flashcards for you. And you can take the quiz again, and Canvas, it's worth 5 points, and Canvas is set up to take your highest score. So hopefully you'll all get 5s on that quiz, okay? All right, so let's leave student view. And I want to go back to the calendar. And somebody has another question, and it's go over question 4. Okay, we can do that as well. And we're going to go back to February. Okay. So that's the account ID quiz. You know about this other stuff. Before I go over the exam, I want to talk about here. So under people, you guys should have signed up for your project groups. Your view is different than mine, but you should have signed up for Coke and Pepsi, General Mills and Kellogg, General Motors and Ford, Home Depot and Lowe's, Target and Walmart, okay? So on the calendar, on Friday, you now need to divide up your work for project 1. Okay, so let's click on this. So a lot of students who take my online class do not come to campus. So that's not going to work for you guys to meet and go over this contract. But I would recommend you reach out to your group members and set up a meeting maybe Thursday and go through the project one and divide up the work. Okay. This is a 2-company business model analysis. You're going to be making a video and you're going to be making a PowerPoint with speaking notes. Okay. And I'm giving you the PowerPoint template. So it'll tell you what to put on each page and then you fill it out. So I'm not trying to make it super stressful in terms of designing the template from scratch, but I do want it to be creative. I'm just telling you what should be on the template. So let's take a quick look at what that involves. So what I want you guys to do in this class, so these are the steps. Pick your team, make a contract, and then in a couple of weeks, individually, everybody will upload their work, and then you'll do your final report, which is it's not a paper, it's a video. It's a recorded video of your team presenting your PowerPoint for about 15 minutes. It's detailed speaking notes. They can be on the PowerPoint. Again, not a paper, it's what you're saying in your presentation, and a bibliography. Okay, no paper. Okay, and then you'll critique another team's work. Okay, you've already picked your companies, and this is your project plan. Get everybody's contact information. So this is what you're uploading on Friday. Get everybody's contact information, list the companies you're doing, set up a weekly meeting that everybody can come to. I had one team have to meet at 7 a.m. on Sunday. I'm sorry, but that was what worked for them because they had different work schedules. How will you meet? List your meeting. If you say, we'll meet on Sunday on Zoom, I want a Zoom link there. If you're meeting at Starbucks, say which one. Okay. And then how will you meet to review the final draft and make your video? And that's just logistics. How are you going to meet? So you're answering for Friday. Who's signed up for what part? I say paper here, but it's PowerPoint. Who is checking? Who's the auditor? And put your deadlines in. So here we go. This is it. This is what you're turning in on Friday along with your meeting schedule. Okay. Assign a team chair. Delete mine. That's just a suggestion. Make the PowerPoint, and there's more description on what it is. So before you can fill this out, this is just saying who's doing it, what's his deadline, what's her deadline, and who's checking that work. Before you can fill this out, you're going to want to open up that template and see what's in there. And your answer on the template, you're answering, what does the company say about itself? A through E, you're answering those 5 questions. What is a 5-year stock value? You're going to cut and paste a graph and talk about it. What is something called governance scores and how did they perform compared to each other? And what do some outside sources say about the company? And then you pick which company has the best business model. Let me be clear, this is not a financial analysis. You'll do that for project 2. You're basically looking at what is the company's business? What is its value proposition? What are its brands? Who are their customers? What are their strengths, risk factors, and growth opportunities? We're just lifting that from the annual report, okay? Then we are going to peek over its stock value because we're not going to do that on project 2. And then governance scores are how the company governs itself. And there's just a short reading on this, and then it gives you their scores. And again, you're going to say which company has better governance scores. And then you're going to find 6 articles for each company. 6 plus 6 is 12. Okay. And briefly, we're looking at bullet points here. What do they say? Are they in sync? Does the company say we're wonderful and the outside sources say they're not wonderful? So we're going to try and compare those. And then you put it all together in your PowerPoint, and then you make a video. And then you upload to Canvas. Okay. Now, I know that was really quick, but by Friday night, you want to assign that workload. So parts 1, A, B, C, and D for both companies. And you can split it up. You can have 2 names here. Stock value, governance scores, 3 articles per company. That should say 6. I'll fix it. 6 articles per company. And then preparing the PowerPoint. and preparing the video. Okay. All right. So that is part of the calendar. Take this down. And we'll go back to calendar. So now I want to talk about the exam real quick and give you some basics on that. And then we'll go look at some questions. And I'm in office hours tomorrow at 11. I will be online Thursday and Friday if you have questions about the contract. Okay. All right, so let's go here. Here we go. All right. So you've signed up for your exams, everybody, and that's just basically to acknowledge that you know you're coming to campus. So when you come to campus, it'll be right next door to my office, C208. I'm in C207. The exam's 100 minutes long. I'll give a few minutes at the beginning of the exam, before we start the exam, if there's any questions or anything you want to go over. It's particularly with the project. Close books, close notes, no electronic devices, no cell phones, even as your calculator. I do have some extra calculators if you don't have a simple calculator. Bring a writing utensil, calculator if you want to bring snacks, and bring your photo ID. You will be signing in and signing out. I'll actually be there. We won't have a proctor this time. And plan extra time for traffic and plan extra time for finding parking. You will have to pay a couple bucks for parking on campus. And then here is the campus map where we are, and here's the parking map. Okay. So the main entrance is over here. There's a back entrance you can come in as well. But at any rate, we're on the very second floor right here in the building. Okay. So I think I don't know where the nearest student parking is to this, but let's say you park in the parking garage over here, you'll just cut through campus and come over here. Okay. Any questions about the exam? Just the logistics of it. All right, that concludes kind of the overview here. So let's go back to. So I'm really hoping I have the exams graded and that I can have special office hours at 10 to 11 on Monday, as well as my normal office hours 11 to 12. So you are required to dial in, to call me on the phone, or no, actually Zoom in, come to this channel on Zoom. And the way that works is I go over your exam results with you one-on-one, not in front of everybody. We go into a breakout room and I show you how you did on the exam and you can ask any questions. Okay. It's 5 minutes long, so it's real quick. So if you're working during those hours, come to my next Tuesday, 3 p.m. We'll spend most of the time on conferences. If you can't make that, again, I'll be back in my regular 11 o'clock office hours on Wednesday. Okay. So you've got 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 11 o'clock. Okay. If none of those times work for you, I have some bandwidth on Thursday. And if you can't, if you have to wait until the following week, I can meet with you then as well. And that conference is worth like 3 points. So it's really important you get your feedback and know what you need to do to make changes or anything on the exam. Okay. And then next week, we'll start in on the project. You'll be uploading your status report, which means any work you've done to that point. Don't say I haven't done any, because you'll get a 0. So you want to show some progress by then. And then the video and PowerPoint is due here. So, okay. All right. So let's get down to the practice exam. All right. So before I hit the practice exam, I want to add that last question, question 4 on the question 4, just a little. Do you guys have any questions about the journal entries themselves? We only really have 13 journal entries. By the end of the quarter, you'll know about 45 journal entries. So you're well into your way. And I try to tell students this is a practice game. This is all about how much you practice. So let's say you're learning Spanish. You can't just come to class once a week and hope to remember. You've got to pull out the flashcards and review your vocabulary. For this class, you've got to review your accounts. What's the normal balance? What statement do they go on? And you also have to review your journal entries and of course your statements. So on this exam, you're expected to know the same thing you had to know for Monopoly. You're expected to know how to do the 13 journal entries that are in the PowerPoints and in chapter 3. You're expected to know how to do an income statement. And remember, with the income statement, if there's more than one revenue source, you put total revenue and then you put total expenses. And you're expected to know how to do a statement of retained earnings. And you're expected to know how to do a classified balance sheet. Okay, so let's review. What's the priority here? What do you guys want first of these 3 areas? Put it in the chat. What do you want first? Essay question, last page, or question 4? Amanda says essay question. Anybody else? We have 1 vote out of, yeah, essay, either essay. Okay, well, there we go. We're doing the essay. Okay. And, oh, by the way, another source of review that I really like is open up your textbook. You probably all have an online textbook, but click on it. And in the textbook, it has demonstration problems. Don't look at the answer. Practice, scroll down so you can't see it, or scroll up so you can't see the solution. And then just get out a piece of paper and try to write the solution, whether it's making a statement or making a journal entry. Then you have that immediate feedback of whether you got it right or not. So the book, I actually really like this book. It has a lot of tools. All right. Okay. And let's see, find the missing number. I have one of those in the practice exam, given the accounting equation, trial balance. Okay. All right. So let's look at the essay question. So read the first thing, read the essay question. Really, really read it. Because if you don't read it, you'll answer the wrong question, okay? And if you answer let's see if you guys can see me. No, you can't see my face. There you go. Read the essay question. Read it, read it, read it. So you got all this data here. And I don't know about you, but I like to plunge in and look at the data. Don't. Read the question. The question is, oops, let's find the question. Discuss the trends in either, that means one, not both, either total revenue or net income. Okay. Include the following. What is the trend? Okay. Then provide evidence to support your position and a summary statement. Okay. So answering that first question is really simple. Let's pick revenue. No, let's pick net income because we can see it. Discuss the trends. So we're going to answer discuss the trends in net income. We are not going to mention revenue. We are not going to mention anything else on this statement. This is an income statement and it's for 3 years for Coldwater Dairy. Okay, we're not going to talk about all the other numbers. This is a very simple essay. Now, there will be other essays where you pull all this extra data, but not right now. We're working on a simple trend analysis. So the other thing I would caution you is typically in accounting reports, oldest is on the right, newest is on the left. Make sure of that before you start writing. Companies can do whatever they want on their statements, okay? Some companies put it the oldest on the left. So real quick, sales were I'm just going to read the first three numbers. Sales were 711. Sales were 1,000. Sales were 1,370. Get the order right. Are sales improving? Are sales worsening? Or are sales staying the same? Put it in the chat. Are sales, is the trend favorable, unfavorable, or neutral for revenue? We're going to start with revenue, but then we're going to write the essay about net income. Trending upwards. Ashley, favorable. Good. Improving because of the increase. Correct, Diana. Am I saying your name right? Yes, good. All right. So if this were what you made last year for work, and this year you make quite a bit more, the trend is favorable. So get to know these words. The trend is favorable, unfavorable, or neutral, or there's a fourth possibility, inconsistent. Favorable, and that's all you need to say, except you need to tell people what you're talking about. So let's frame it that way. Favorable, unfavorable, neutral, or inconsistent. Okay. So inconsistent would be sales were here, sales went up, and then sales went down again. So it's just kind of all over the place. Okay. You can't just say the trend is favorable. You got to tell people what you're talking about. So let's just start that essay. And you could almost do this very formulaically. The 2011 to 2013, whatever your dates are, right? Because your statement may have different dates. And then you're going to name, what am I talking about? Is favorable. Okay. The 2011 to 2013 total revenue, also known as total sales, trend is favorable. So you're going to identify the period of time you're talking about, and then you're going to say, so that's sentence number one. Okay. So I'm going to demonstrate this, and then I'm just going to put blanks in. Okay, let's do it like that. All right. So that's your lead-in line. But now let's look and say, let's go down and look at net income. How will you change that sentence? Or, oops, sorry. I'm going to push this up. And then I'm going to push. Can you see both documents? Can you see the practice exam and my Word document?
Yep, I can see them both.
Okay. So now I want you to talk about, so now we're going to build the whole essay for net income. So let's change that first sentence. Is this period of time still good? Is it still 2011 to 2013? Let's go look. Now I'm calling it 2011 to 2013 because it's ending in 2011, 2012, and 2013, okay? So what is the trend? Put it in the chat. Is the trend favorable, unfavorable, neutral, or inconsistent for net income? Yeah, okay. Oh, I left one thing out for so you're giving me the time period, you're giving me the number you're talking about, and you need to give me the name of the company, and then you need to make your conclusion is the trend. So now you basically, sentence number one says, this is it. This is my 30-second, 10-second lead in for my elevator speech. Okay. So now we need evidence. Okay. And so we look at, so one of the most important numbers we calculate in business is growth rate. And we have to calculate the growth rate. So we have to calculate the percentage growth from 121,847 to 184,063. And then we have to calculate the growth rate from 184,063 to 270,556. Okay. So I'm going to set this up as a formula, as a sentence with blanks, and you guys are going to have to give me the numbers. Okay. Net income grew Now, because this is trend analysis, I don't want you to give me, it grew from 2011 to 2013. I want to see year-to-year growth, okay? So can you guys work on, does everybody know how to get that percent change here? So can you give me the percent growth? And if you can't, put it in the chat or direct message me and I'll put the formula in. Just put in the chat, need formula. So can you go over the form? I'm happy to, Amanda. Thank you for asking. And if you think you know the answer, direct message me. All right, all right, the formula for percent change. First, I want the difference between these two numbers. Okay, and the formula first thing you do is you take the dollars of this year. I'm going to abbreviate this year. So this year is 184,063. And if you do give me a percentage, give it to me with 2 decimals minus the dollars of last year. Okay. So that difference is about what, 62,000? And then you divide that whole thing, I'm just going to put it like this, divided by last year dollars. Okay, so let's write that out as a formula. It's going to be 184,063 minus 121,847 divided by 121,847. I'm going to punch that into our calculators. 184,160,063 minus 121,047. Is exact number. Sorry, there we go. 62,216 divided by 121,847. And that's going to equal 5106. And that's a decimal. So key in 62,216 divided by 121,847. You're going to multiply it by 100. And you're going to get 5106%. If you're off by a fraction, don't worry about it. Okay. So now we're going to fill this in. We're going to say 51.06. And we're going to say the dollar difference. Okay. We're going to say 62,216. It's not enough to just say 62,216 because we don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, that might be really small or might be really big. Okay, so 62,000 growth when you started with 121,000 is a 51.06 growth. Now, I want you guys to think about that in terms, those of us that work, if we got a 50% raise, that would be phenomenal. But if the profit for Coldwater Dairy was $1 in 2011 and $1.50 in 2012, that's not that impressive. So that is why we show the percent change and we also show the dollar change. Okay. I got a 50% raise. I'm making 50 cents more. Not so good, but we want them both. Okay. So we want to do the same thing for here, and that's where we get, I want to just put that out there. If anybody has it, oh, we got it. Austin, you put it in. All right, 46.99% or 86,493. All right. Now I want you guys just to look at this sentence. We said the trend was favorable. It grew about 51% the first year and 46% the second year. Both of those are phenomenal growths, but we need a wrap-up sentence. So there's no question in my mind, this is a favorable trend, okay? It's great. But can you add to this? What would you add to this? So what I added in the solution was, it's great, it's wonderful, it's fantastic, but can we acknowledge that the growth rate is slowing down? It was at 51% and now it's at 46.99. Nothing to be alarmed about, but it is slowing down. It's slower. So that is why I added, while the growth rates in 2013 compared, while the growth in 2013 compared to 2012 are slightly lower, the company, or you can name it Coldwater Dairy, the company shows strong performance. I expect you to notice that the growth rate is slightly lower in the second year than the third year, okay? But this is it. This is your essay right here. Done. Okay. So not a huge thing. You're only going to be asked to talk about one number. Oh, great. Thank you so much. Yes. And so once you get, and you're going to be using this later on for project 2 when you analyze the financial data. You're not going to use it for your PowerPoint, but you will use it for project 2. All right. Okay, let's look at the other questions you guys have. And I'm glad you asked about the essay. So, all right. So let's go. Essay question, last page on practice exam and question 4. Oh, was question 4 the essay, Austin? Maybe. Let's go look. Well, I'm not answering it twice. So unless you have more questions about it. Yeah, is that the one you meant, Austin? All right. Okay. Last question on the practice exam. Is there more? Let's see. I put oh, that's a lot of questions. That's 10 questions. Do you have you mean number 10 or do you mean all of them? Let's see. Who asked that question? Let's see. Amanda, which question are you asking about? Let's see. Let me flip this around. View. I have a new version of Adobe and I don't know how to rotate. Let's see. Ah, there it goes. All right. Which question are we looking at? Two new messages. Yeah, number 10 or any one that works. So, all right. So all of these questions are essentially like algebra questions. Do you really understand this accounting equation? And I would encourage you to write it out when you're getting ready to solve these questions, because it's some of you just do a lot of math in your head and you're just awesome at it and good for you, but the rest of us don't. So it's good to just lay it out. Okay. So here it's saying, what is the total of common stock and retained earnings? If you know assets are 800,000, liabilities are 500,000, what's the total here? Okay, just throw it in the chat for me. All right, beautiful, beautiful. 300,000. If you know retained earnings and common stock and liabilities, what's total assets? Throw it in the chat for me. $350, 25, 400. What is total? 775. Correct, Cameron. Yeah. If you now we get a little bit more technical. If you know total assets is 950, you essentially are setting up an algebra problem. 950 equals X plus 800,000 plus 20,000. 950,000 equals X plus 820,000. And the difference is going to be 130,000. Great. So those are just like little warm-up ones to just make sure you guys know about the accounting equation. But these three are just about the balance sheet. Okay. Now we get into a little more. So at the beginning of the year, Vasquez had total assets of 700, total liabilities of 600. Okay. So let's go look at the solution. This is where it looks like it's easy. I can do it all in my head, but I really, really like to lay it out. So let's go look at the solution here. Close this, close this. All right, so here we are, and I'm just trying to make it a little bit bigger. All right. So at the beginning of the year, Vasquez had total assets of 700 and total liabilities of 600. So BOY is beginning of year. Okay, I lay it out using that accounting equation. And then we start with just still staying on the balance sheet. If total assets, so then I say, what happened during the year? Total assets increased 150, but total liabilities decreased 80. What is in stockholders' equity at the end of the year? You can do this a couple of ways. Add up the two, get total assets. You know, if it started at 700, we had activity of an increase of 150, ending balance in assets is 850. But liabilities went down. We started at 600, we dropped to 80, now we only have 520. So we know two numbers and we solve for the third number. 850 is equal to 520 plus what? 330. Okay, so 5, 6, and 7, they all have that same beginning of the year, 700 in assets, 600 in liabilities. You can solve for stockholders' equity. Now we say, what if total assets increased 100,000 and stockholders' equity decreased 70? And then you take this side and you solve for the other, okay? And let's do one with revenue and expenses. So let's look at number 7. Same beginning of year, 700, 600. Now we're saying total assets decreased 80. So we're going to log that in. Revenue was 200,000. Expenses were 90, and assume there were no dividends. Okay, this is where you guys have to remember that when the ending balance in retained earnings is done on that retained earnings statement, and it's beginning balance plus net income minus dividends equals ending balance. So you know you have no dividends, so don't need to worry about that, but you need to calculate net income here. Net income is 110,000, am I right? But you could list it separately, revenue, expenses, or 110,000. Beginning balance and stockholders' equity you had to solve for, but they gave you assets, they gave you liabilities. Add net income, and you get ending balance and stockholders' equity, because stockholders' equity is common stock plus retained earnings. Okay. So now we get a little more complicated. We have a whole new problem. They are not giving you the beginning balance. Steel company's assets increased during the year 25,000. Total liabilities decreased during the year 15,000. And our investors increased an additional 30. So the company got sold more common stock. The company paid dividends. That's a negative because that's how it looks on retained earnings statement. What had to be the income? Okay, so what this sort of problem is saying, do you really understand retained earnings? Okay, so you know this number is 40. Why? Because this number, total assets, is 25,000. It's not your ending balance. Let me be clear. It is not your ending balance. It is your line during the year. That same equation holds. Whatever happened to assets has to equal the other side of the left side of the equation. Okay, so I'm sorry, the right side of the equation. So assets increased 25. So therefore, this total minus 15 plus X has to equal 25. So if liabilities went down 15, stockholders' equity went up 40. So now we've solved for the 40, and we say, we know we had additional investment, but we also pulled out dividends. So that only is 15,000. Therefore, net income was 25. Okay, that's a stretch question for you guys. So here we have Fran Company had a beginning stockholders' equity of 500. Net income of 75, that increases stockholders' equity because that's what happens on retained earnings. Dividends, 30,000. Dividends decrease retained earnings, so we subtract it. An investment by owners in exchange for stock of 10,000. So we sold more stock, so that increases because we have more stock. So we just add all those up. So don't be scared when you see language like investment by owners in exchange for stock. That just means they sold stock. Okay. And then last, I think that's it. Is there a 10? I thought there was a number 10. Oh yeah, there's a number 10. Let's see. Yes, there is on mine. Oh, it's not in the practice exam. Okay. Let's see if I can find it. Page 18. Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. I keep scrolling by it. Okay, the last one. Terry Company began operations in 2013 with an investment of 62 by each of the stockholders. So for a total of 124. Okay. So be careful when you read. If it says they each made an investment, you double it. Okay. Net income for its first year of business was 218. They paid dividends to each of their stockholder. So you're doubling it. So it's 30 plus 30 is 60. How much is the company's ending stockholders' equity? So the trick part of this question is this word each. So just be cognizant of that. And this each over here. Okay. Beginning balance plus net income minus dividends, ending balance. Okay. All right. So a lot of little algebra stuff there just to be mindful of. And that is it. We got through all your questions. Do you have any other general questions, things to worry about? Let me know. Otherwise, I will see you guys tomorrow.
I had one quick question on the answer key. I was just wondering if this was a typo.
Sure.
On the little big company statements on the answer key, they're labeled as December 31st, but in our practice exam, I think they were July 31st.
Oops, that's not right. Let's see. Let me read the
I assumed it was just a different version thing, but I would
little
just want to
big,
make
ended
sure that
its
I'm not
fiscal
doing the dates
year.
wrong.
You are so right. Yeah, it should say 12/31. I'll fix it on
Okay.
I'll fix it for the next class.
Thank you. I just wanted to double check.
31. No, dates are super important. So be sure to put when you guys make your statements, use that right format. 3 lines. Line 1, name of the company. Line 2, name of the statement. Line 3, dates. So it should be good. Anything else? So I will see you at 2:30 tomorrow. I'm really happy a lot of you came, so take care.
Thank you. See you then.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.